Hello dear students. Students, today we are going to start a new lesson from your English book, Footprints Without Feet. And the name of the lesson is also Footprints Without Feet. It is written by H.G. Wells. And the lesson narrates the story of an eccentric scientist, Griffin, who discovered a rare drug that could make a naked man invisible. So come, let's know more about Griffin. Students, Footprints Without Feet is quite an interesting story about a scientist named Griffin. He had been finding ways that could make a man invisible. He got success in his experiment and developed a formula with which he could become invisible, but could be touched and felt physically. Actually, Griffin decided to take revenge from his landlord who didn't like him. So one day he set his landlord's house on fire and drank his drug. The author of this lesson is H.G. Wells, whose full name is Herbert George Wells. Herbert George Wells was born on 21st September 1866 in England. He was a great writer who wrote novels, history, and science fiction. The most famous works of H.G. Wells are The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, and The Island of Dr. Moreau. He died on 13 August 1946. So, let's proceed with the story now based on the headings as always. So, go through the headings carefully as the story would be told to you on the basis of them. Students, the story is about a scientist named Griffin. He had been discovering ways which could make a man invisible and finally swallowed certain rare drugs that made him invisible. He was first noticed by two boys in the staircase of a house where they could just see his footsteps and started following them. They follow them until the footsteps are fainter and cannot be seen. First, as he is feeling cold, he enters a mall for some warmth. After the stores shut down, he decides to wear some warm clothes and eat something. He first unboxes a few clothes and wears them. Then, from the kitchen of a restaurant, he eats cold meat and some coffee. Later, he goes to a grocery store and eats sweets and drinks wine. He then falls asleep on a pile of quilts. He then wakes up in the morning when some of the store assistants had seen him and started chasing him. He quickly threw away all the clothes he was wearing and became invisible again. Then he started roaming around again without any clothes in the cold winters of London. He then decides to steal clothes from a theatre company as he knew he would get something there to cover his face as well. He then steals bandages for his face, dark glasses, false nose, and a hat for covering himself. He then hits the shopkeeper and steals all his money. Soon he realizes that London is too crowded to live like this and decides that he would go to a remote village. He books 2 rooms at an inn at the Iping village. He reaches there and it is strange for the people of Iping that a stranger with such a weird appearance has come to stay at an inn during the winter season. Once his money is over, he steals from people and also hits the landlord and his wife when they try to check his room in his absence. Then the village constable is asked for help. But before that, Mrs. Hall, the wife of the landlord, asks him questions regarding who he is and what he did to her furniture. This makes him really furious and he decides to show her who he really is. The people then see a headless man, and Mr. Jeffers, the constable, also finds out that he would have to arrest a man who does not have a head. They are unable to catch Griffin as he removes all his clothes and becomes invisible. He even knocks at Jeffers as he tries to catch him. So, this story tells us the human nature of misusing their own discoveries. Students, Griffin was a scientist who discovered that the human body could become transparent and invisible. But he misused his great discovery. He did not use the power of invisibility for the welfare of society and humanity at large. He misused it to threaten, trouble, and beat innocent persons and rob them. But do you think a genuine scientist should ever do like him? No. A genuine scientist should always work for the good of humanity. He should believe in making human lives more comfortable, easier, and pleasurable instead of misusing his inventions for his selfish motive or personal gains. Hence, this nice story, Footprints Without Feet, describes the story of a brilliant scientist, Griffin, who degenerated himself into a lawless person. The lesson gives a message that misuse of science and its great discoveries can make even a brilliant scientist like Griffin a monster and a threatening, lawless person. So, this message gives an end to the story. Go through the story once again, reread the lesson, and also do the chapter end questions carefully and neatly in the register. Thank you.